It's already gotten a lot of awards love, including a slot on AFI's Top 10 Films of the Year and a Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Drama. And it's got 10 Academy Award nominations, including some of the real biggies as well. Let's talk about The Brutalist. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for The Brutalist. This is a 3.5-hour epic drama period piece. It comes complete with an intermission if you see it in theaters. I don't know if that will carry over to streaming or not. I imagine it won't, right? Because you can just pause it whenever you want to. But if you see it in theaters, it's got a 15-minute intermission as well, included in that runtime. But before we launch into the specifics of The Brutalist, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are one of my Dan Reviews It subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Love having you return to the channel. But if you're not, please consider subscribing there down below, including hitting that notification bell too, so you get the alerts for all my new video drops. I've already reviewed quite a few of the Best Picture nominees, including recently A Complete Unknown. There's a Wicked review up there, Dune Part 2, but there's still a few that I have not either seen or seen and not reviewed. So there's a few coming, and then within a very short amount of time, I'll also be doing my Academy Awards will they win and should they win video with my buddy Tim. He's been joining me for years looking at the Oscar nominees, and this will be getting a lot of chatter during that video because it is up for 10 nominations, including some of the biggies. We have Best Picture and Best Director, which is Brady Corbett, by the way, who is well, most known, I guess, now for this, but he was a young actor. He was in the movie 13 way back in the day, like 20 years ago, and he's directed a few things over the years, but by far this is his highest profile film that he's directed. But Adrian Brody is up for Best Actor, Guy Pearce, Best Supporting Actor, Felicity Jones, Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Original Score, Cinematography, Editing, Production Design. So this obviously has gotten a lot of chatter with the awards, and I think it is one of the front runners for Best Picture. There's a few that sort of the odds makers are sort of talking about. Anora is another one, but this having won Best Motion Picture Drama at the Golden Globes certainly is a good sign that it is one of the front runners, at least, for that coveted top prize. So let's talk about the plot real quick, and then I'll get into my thoughts on it, because I'll say right now, as a brief spoiler for my grade, this is far from one of my favorites in the Best Picture camp. You know, a lot of the movies in there I've given, you know, an A2 or an A-, but this one does not quite measure up for me personally. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But this features Adrian Brody as a Hungarian Jewish Holocaust survivor emigrating to the U.S., where he is struggling to achieve the American dream. He first, well, we have like an overture that explains sort of the setup here. He is separated from his wife and orphaned niece, and he was sent to the concentration camp, but he ends up emigrating to the United States, having survived that. Laszlo Toth is his name, and we see him going to Philadelphia, meeting up with his cousin Attila, and his cousin's, what do you call the cousin's wife? I don't know if that's what kind of in-law that is. Cousin-in-law, I guess. But he stays with the two of them and works for his furniture factory. And then the bulk of the movie then sees him working for this very rich man, Van Buren, and at first just, you know, consigned for this job at the house, and that turns into eventually a big money job with this man and his family. He sort of, you know, becomes kind of a part of the Van Buren family. So I think that's all we'll say plot-wise here for now. But this is, like I said, in because you have that intermission, it's in two distinct chapters, and chapter 2 is actually where we meet Felicity Jones. So even though she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, she's not even in the first half of the film at all. But it's a long film, so she still has a lot of screen time with that. So, all right. So, boy, oh boy. So let's talk first about the positives, because there are some positives here for sure. And I do leave this movie, with not a negative grade. But the cinematography here, it really is great. The visceral things about this movie, I can absolutely see why it is getting these nominations. The architecture is gorgeous because Laszlo is an architect, and so not only are we looking through his designs, but the whole movie, Corbett really has directed this with a keen eye towards beauty and beauty of spaces, and it makes for a very, very beautiful movie. It is no doubt a beautiful film from an aesthetic standpoint. So yes, the cinematography, beautiful. The set designs, all of that stuff. Absolutely. And the acting is great. Look, Adrian Brody has obviously, he's an Oscar winner already, I think, right, for The Pianist. And I think he's the front runner for Best Actor as well. Now, there has been some chatter in film circles about the use of AI in this movie. I'm not going to go into too much, with that, because I think that could be its own separate video, really. But apparently, in an interview with the editor, he had mentioned that, yes, some AI was used to sort of tweak the voice performances of Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones for their Hungarian accents to be more authentic. To me, that is, I don't love that. I don't love the path that takes us down. But look, AI is, in some instances, the new CGI. Even A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie, used AI a little bit. There were some tracking shots on some motorcycles, and they used AI to make the face of the stunt double look a little bit more like the person. But, look, that's stuff that they've been doing with CGI for a long, long time. So again, I'm not going to go too much in the weeds with this. This could be its own separate video. But tweaking the voice performances of someone with AI, I don't love. I don't love that concept. You see somebody like Kate Winslet, who has, really, really gotten all of these different dialects down over the years. Certainly Mayor of Easttown doing her Delco accent. I'm wearing my Patty shirt from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm a Philadelphia guy. Loved that. But that was all her. That was all authentic. And when you get into things like, oh, well, maybe the vowels aren't used right, so let's tweak that a little bit in AI, that does, to me, affect the performance a little bit. Now, I do think Adrian Brody probably will win Best Actor, but I think that will lead to a bigger discussion of the AI component, because when you compare that with Timothée Chalamet, who did all his own singing as Bob Dylan, his own playing, maybe it's not quite a level field when you do that. But aside from that, I certainly couldn't tell during the movie, and the performance itself is phenomenal. It's a great performance. Whether they tweaked a couple of his vowels here and there or whatever, it is an excellent performance. And Guy Pearce is very good here as well. So the performances, not the problem. Felicity Jones is good. I think maybe there were some other people that could have used her slot at the supporting actress table, but I think she's very good here, but not quite up to the level of Brody and Pearce. I'm not even really a Guy Pearce fan, but boy, he was really, really good here. So what is the problem with this movie? Well, it has no business being 3.5 hours. It's 3:35 complete. When you take away the intermission, it's 3:20. But look, I'm not a poo-pooer on long movies. 3 of my top 10 movies of all time are Titanic, Sound of Music, and now Oppenheimer, and they're all over 3 hours. And I don't have a problem with that, but I was bored with some of this movie. I really was. And parts 1 and 2 are different in their themes and different in their approach. And so, during the intermission, I got to actually talk with my buddy Robbie that I went to see the movie with about, what do we think so far and whatever. And he was a bit underwhelmed by part 1. I think I probably was as well. And part 2 really gets us into the action a little bit more. The last half hour of part 1 was really, really kind of starting to move a little bit. And then that momentum continued with part 2, but then part 2 sort of went up and down for me in terms of, I don't want to say enjoyment, but I just felt like there was a lot of things that they were alluding to that maybe were not really resolved, or just sort of dropped completely. That I thought, all right, well, there was maybe a missed opportunity, or why did that even enter the picture at all if we weren't going to do anything with it? Because in a movie that's this long, you got to trim some of the fat if you're going to have some fat. And I think this movie does. And it is to its detriment. This movie easily could have been 2 hours and 25 minutes, which really is cutting a full hour from it. And I think, I don't know that it would have been more powerful, but it certainly would have been less boring. I'll give it that. Now, my buddy Tim, who I mentioned is going to be on my Oscar Will They Win, Should They Win podcast, he had talked about this, likening it to Tar. From a couple of years ago with Cate Blanchett, which is a movie I loved. And I thought, Cate Blanchett gave an amazing performance, but he puts it in the camp of like great performance, okay movie. I certainly liked Tar better than this, but Tar is almost 3 hours. I think it was 2:45 or something like that. Yeah, but I was with it for the ride. I wasn't bored. I thought it had enough intrigue. This, I think, just moved too slowly for my liking. Now, a lot of the film critics out there are loving this. Oh, this is a great return to form to, some of the 1960s and 70s sweeping epics. I do agree that there's a lot of good here, but there's also, I think, a lot of fat that could have been trimmed. And it does use, I will say, this VistaVision, which has not been used since the 60s. It was one of the regular features at one of the studios. I think it was Paramount. It might have been Warner Brothers. I forget. But in any event, it is this big sweeping, before IMAX and before some of these more modern things, you had this VistaVision. And it really does make the end product look beautiful. There's no doubt about that. This is a beautiful, beautiful film. And so I do think it deserves to win maybe in some of those side categories. And I think maybe Adrian Brody does deserve Best Actor, even with some of those AI tweaks, because his performance really is something to behold. It reminds us all what a powerful actor Adrian Brody is. He doesn't get talked about, I think, enough in that venue. But overall, this as a whole complete film, it missed the mark a little bit for me. It is one of the weaker in the field of the Best Picture nominees, I think. I leave The Brutalist with a B minus. If you're going to go see it in the theater, take 4 hours with the previews and everything, and see what you think. All right, thank you for watching Day Reviews, and I'll see you next time. Bye.